Super excited to be talking to you guys today. Today we're going to be talking about how to thrive. Underneath thrive is a underline in quotations, highlighted in big letters, how to thrive in very stressful times. And let's face it, it is very stressful from everything that's going on around us, from our own city, from our own town, from our own state, from our own country, from worldwide. It's worldwide stuff. And when you go out and you see people and there's no supplies and you don't know what to do, it's overwhelming. It really is. And I always say, in an economic downturn, wouldn't it be nice to come out ahead and thrive? And wouldn't it be nice in a health crisis to come out ahead, to come out healthier than you were going into it? And given the fact that it's a health crisis and there's a concern for your immune system and ultimately your well-being, wouldn't it be awesome to come out ahead, where you're given a wake-up call on the front of your head, telling you to not take your health for granted, to do everything you can to be proactive, and to get a second lease on life? Because maybe before you got this health crisis alert on your radar, you weren't doing perfectly with your health. You weren't thriving. You weren't going out. You were saying no to social events. You weren't getting through your day. Potentially, you were too focused on too many things, feeling run down, not handling stressors very well, not sleeping, not feeling wakeful, not having a good body image, not being able to lose weight, not having enjoyment, happiness, fulfillment, contentment in life. And then all of a sudden this comes on and puts you over the edge. And I have a theory actually about that, in terms of we're such a more hypersensitive society as a whole, because of the changing climate in the perfect storm of our predisposition in our genetics and the stressful events in our lives that make us more susceptible to getting sick, both mentally and physically. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you about how to thrive in stressful times like this. And it goes so much deeper than the adrenals. Yes, I call myself the Adrenal Fatigue Recovery Ninja, and perhaps I deserve people coming to me telling me that they have an adrenal problem. But I always tell them, Mrs. Jones, you got so much more than an adrenal problem if you're telling me all the things that you're dealing with. I would hope that it would only be an HPA axis dysfunction, where repeated stressors, not just mental stressors, but physical, emotional, chemical, traumatic, environmental, life, all of those things causes you to have a decreased ability to be able to maintain your homeostatic balance in your body. That would be great if that were it. However, what ultimately happens is it impacts you much deeper than that. And I always tell people the orchestra has to play as a unit. You have to have the conductor and the different sections and the strings and all of that to be able to make a nice sounding music composition. Same thing with your body. So the brain, the master communicator, the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, signals to different parts of the body, but it doesn't just happen in isolation. It doesn't just happen to the adrenals or the thyroid or the ovaries or the testes. It happens in a system, and in that system has communication and feedback loops and ways to tell each other how to work together in harmony or not. And so therefore, with the HPA axis and adrenals, when we're constantly under stress, it's not only impacting the adrenals, it's impacting the nervous system, the immune system, the endocrine system, the cardiovascular system, your GI system, your detox pathway, orthopedic stuff. It impacts it all. And when you've been under stress for some time, and then all of a sudden this dreadful news about a virus comes along, it's more than is needed to break the proverbial camel's back. And so what I want to do is I want to give you hope. I want to give you reassurance. I want to let you know that we can thrive in this particular instance right now, because there's a lot of things that we can do, knowing that the stressor goes deeper than the adrenals, knowing that. And I tell people, look, it goes so much deeper than your adrenals. It's a system. And you know, when you think about the system, the sum of the parts are much more than just the parts. there's tissues that make up those organs, and there's cells that make up those tissues. And if those cells aren't producing energy at the level that they need to, then you're going to be more susceptible to immune challenges. That's it in a nutshell. If your cellular mechanics aren't being able to produce energy at the level that they need to, then you are going to succumb to a particular stressor that's going to overwhelm you. And that takes a lot to go wrong, but at the same time, there's a lot of things you can do proactively. So I wanted to talk to you about a couple things. Number one, it goes so much deeper than the adrenals. Number two, you can't just take adrenal supplements to support you. Now, it's true, you can take some adrenal supplements that would be helpful, like adaptogenic herbs, holy basil, rhodiola. Sometimes you can take some zispis root or scutellaria or magnolia root. You can take a lot of different adaptogenic herbs that can be really helpful. However, that's not going to go down to the root cause of the problem. The other thing I like to tell you about as we go through my little bullet points here is that it's not only about getting a saliva test. I have a lot of people that will say, hey, here's my saliva test results. And I used to do a lot of saliva tests, and I probably look at it a little deeper than you, but I am definitely handcuffed when I look at the saliva test and say, you know what, I don't know a lot of the picture here. I'm just looking out at this part of the ocean, and there's this part of the ocean. I'm missing a huge part of that. And then I also want to get into why we can bulletproof your recovery so that you're thriving. So I want to give you some three main things to look at. Number one is mindfulness. Your body really doesn't know the difference between an actual stressor and a perceived stressor. An actual stressor and a perceived stressor. So you need to be in charge of your emotions. And I'm talking to you. I'm looking back at me, but I'm talking to you too. You need to be in charge of your emotions. You need to be responsible. So you can't just put your head in the sand and be an ostrich and assume that, oh, this isn't a big deal. But at the same time, you need to be in charge of your emotions in these stressful times. And you need to be realistic, and you can't get overwhelmed. And there's a couple of things that we can do about that neurotransmitter wise. So if we have an imbalance between excitatory neurotransmitters and inhibitory neurotransmitters, you're going to be overwhelmed, overstimulated. You're going to get your mind out of the game, and now you're going to think the worst. You're going to continue to watch the news. You're going to continue to watch your public members go crazy and do stupid things, and you're going to get overwhelmed, and you're not going to thrive. This is about thriving. So a couple of things that you can do, which we'll get into that in the beginning, is looking into neurotransmitter health. It's not just about the adrenals. We look at neurotransmitter health every day. When we look at your genetic susceptibilities, it gives us your biopterin pathways, which is how we make the neurotransmitters. It involves proper iron support or too much of iron, getting it out of the body. It involves amino acids in your GI health. It involves also your recycling of biopterin, which is dependent on methylfolate, and a lot of other things as well, which I'm not going to get into, but cofactors like SAMe that helps drive all this production. Also the sympathetic, parasympathetic. So if you are not optimally breathing, because you can get into parasympathetic systems when you are resting and digesting. So that means you're not driving in your car, picking up your lunch, texting, eating, doing all these things. Your feet are on the ground, you're eating food, you're getting into rest and digest mode, you're breathing properly, you're in charge of your mind, you're not getting overworked, you're not getting into sympathetic overdrive. You're keeping it real. And you got to look forward, not backwards. I see that happen a lot. Yes, it's true. It's not fair. You've had a lot of trials and tribulations. This sucks. It sucks. I mean, having to be at home or quarantined, or businesses are shutting down and income is not coming in and all of that kind of stuff. But you got to look forward. You got to be thriving in the downturn, which means you're creative, you're doubling down, you're looking at areas where you can get what's the good about this? what can I do? And not only like I can be more supportive to my family and my neighbors and my community, because really times like this brings us together, it doesn't take us apart. The irony of having to isolate, bringing us close together isn't lost. It really is one of those things where you have to look forward, not back. What are things that you can do? What are things in your business that you want to do? Who are people that you can help in these times of needs? How can you make that a win-win situation? What other things that you can do to become healthier? Like I said, we want to take a situation that's stressful and be able to harness that so that it makes you bulletproof. And that means start eating healthier. This was the wake-up call you needed to start eating healthier, to start being more active, to start getting more oxygen, to start having better thoughts in your heads, to start being more focused, and to start setting goals, and to start making your life mean something. That's what this is for. It's not looking backwards like this isn't fair, I can't believe it, I'm exhausted, I'm burnt out, I don't know if I have it or not, I feel like I'm dizzy, I feel like I'm lightheaded, I feel like I might have it. If that's how you feel, go get checked out. But also look at it as a kick in the butt to get your act together and do the things you need to do to get your health back. So mindfulness is really key. The next thing I would say is the immune health. I mean, obviously that's super important, right? So how does that have to do with adrenals? Like I'll tell people, look, your adrenals have a direct correlation with your innate immune system, with your secretory IgA, which is what is your mucosal lining, the Coast Guard. So when we are super stressed out and we aren't mindful and we aren't balancing our sympathetic and our parasympathetic, and we aren't looking forward and we're looking backwards, and we aren't getting those neurotransmitters being calm and collective, when we're not doing that stuff, your immune system is shot. Your secretory IgA is really, really low. Today, I just went over a GI map test on a client that I've been working with, and she's older and she's concerned, and I reassured her, hey, look, at your secretory IgA, your Coast Guard in your GI system, even though you have these microbial concerns, is really good. And we just finished a protocol, and now you are probably even better. How are you feeling? Yeah, I feel better. I have more energy. I'm more focused. I'm sleeping better. I'm getting deeper sleep. And I gave her the permission to say, okay, great, your immune system's really strong. And sometimes we need to give ourselves that own permission. It's always nice to have someone confirm what we want to hope and believe is true. But when they tell us, yeah, Joel, it really is good, it's like, oh, now I have permission to be able to say that my immune system is strong. And that requires knowledge and information and getting off your butt and doing the tests and making sure you're applying the information. But secretory IgA is huge, so that's a huge marker. The other thing we look at is histamine, zonulin, and leaky gut. So histamine is a problem with overproduction of mast cells, which we'll get there in a second. But mold can produce histamine, glutamates, excitatory neurotransmitters, iron overload, stress, EMFs, sulfites. All of these things can stimulate your histamine, which is going to increase your zonulin, which is going to cause your gut to go permeable. And it brings up a side note. I've been talking to someone, emailing him back and forth, telling me that he's got an autoimmunity, he's got to be on medication for the rest of his life. And I don't disagree. But I do disagree with the fact that it's not a death sentence, that you can't do anything to support you naturally, holistically, nutritionally. That's ridiculous, in my opinion. That means that you can look at the genetic predisposition of the things that stimulate the mast cells. Do you have good mast cell support? Do you have good mast cell signaling? Are you able to turn that off? Do you have good contingency plans? Does your domino effect, 5 dominoes down the road, get put down so that even when it comes to it and it's not going to knock it down, it's going to be down already? Can you lift that up 5 steps ahead and support your body? That's what I'm saying. If you don't have to just supplement yourself to good health, what happens if you have a major iron dysregulation and your ferritin levels are elevated, and that's stimulating your mast cells? Your mast cells are stressing out your immune system, it's depleting you, and you're not thriving in this stressful time, and you can just go give blood. That's a major tool that no one's telling you about. So you need to understand that. I wouldn't just say, okay, go give blood, but I would say do the workup and find out if that's a real factor. And while we're talking about mast cells, Dr. Theo Hardy's from Tufts University just came out with a research paper saying that your mast cells are upregulated when there's a virus. And when that virus is upregulating your mast cells and producing hydrogen peroxide and superoxide and histamine release, you need your defense system on board to manage that. And if you're just pouring fuel on the fire with iron issues or glutamate issues or dopamine issues, or EMF issues or stress because you're not mindful, that's gonna not allow you to thrive. That's a huge take-home point. And the last thing I wanted to talk to you about is blood sugar. Blood sugar balance is really, really key. And I'm not just talking about going keto or going low carb. I'm talking about time-restricted eating, intermittent fasting. Because we have so much overload of this mast cell and inflammation, and one of the things that I didn't talk about is mTOR and production of cells and regeneration, that's going to stimulate the mast cells as well. And if we do the Archie Bunker 3 meals a day in our day and age with inflammation, environmental chemicals, stress, mindful issues, viral loads, and you're eating all the time, you're going to stimulate more mast cell production. It just is like a vicious cycle. So what I want you to do is think about a time-restricted eating window, meaning the last meal you have at the day, 12 hours later. I really don't, although has to be some extenuating circumstances, that you can't work your way up to that and become metabolically flexible. At the end of the day, for you to thrive in this stressful time is for you to become metabolically flexible. That means time-restricted eating windows. I also like to take my glucose levels, my ketone levels to get an idea, what are my fasting glucose levels? And as I start to watch my mind, as I start to support my immune system, as I start to do some intermittent fasting, hey, my baselines are changing. I'm not going as high every morning, or when I have a meal 1, 2, 3 hours later, it's starting to come back down again. Also needing to know your proper ratios. Don't ask me what the best diet is for you until I look at your tests, look at your epigenetics, and give you some understandings of where I think we need to go. But in common sense terms, it's fiber. You need good, healthy fiber. You need good, healthy protein, but not too much. You need good, healthy fats, maybe not too much, just depends. And fats are not the bad guys, but they can be problematic for people that have challenges with using them, with absorbing them, with being able to utilize them for the nutrients that you need. And then carbs are called, they're not called essential carbohydrates. Meaning we are able to produce carbohydrates in our body. But I do believe we need to get the good, healthy, leafy green vegetables that are going to provide nitrates and nitrites for your nitric oxide production, which is a whole other video. And then movement. So when you are intermittent fasting and you have good mindfulness and good immune health, and you're not overstimulating your mast cells, and you know your genetic susceptibilities, and you're doing a time-restricted eating window, and you're eating good, proper ratios, movement is going to help bring it all together. It's going to make you more insulin sensitive. You're going to start to see your levels get better, your immune system rise up. And this is the kick in the butt you needed to get your health back and to be able to take it serious so that you know when the next time something like this happens, you have the confidence of like those 3 little pigs, where you have the pig that's house is made out of paper or, you know, whatever, but you're the one that it's fortified and it's reinforced and you're feeling really good about yourself. Hopefully that's given you the idea that, hey, in this stressful time, why can't I ask the question, why not? Why not come out of this ahead? Why not come out of this healthier? Why not come out of this with more energy than I went into it and I thrived? And I taught other people how to do that too. Now, it's not easy, don't get me wrong. This is stuff that I've learned a long time because I've learned it for my own health issues and the people that I help get their health back. And it's not only about the adrenals. It's not only about taking the adrenal supplements. It's not only about looking at the saliva test or saying that you have an autoimmunity and there's nothing that can be done by besides medication, which I can agree you need the medication, but I don't agree that you can't look at all of these genetic susceptibilities, especially when you're telling me there's genetic susceptibilities and you're not going to medicate your genetic susceptibilities to good health. So I think that's BS. And it's really about taking that stand of, okay, I'm going to do something about it. And if that's you and you're watching this and you want to do something about it, I work with people one-on-one, and I do actually no charge, no obligation, 45-minute consultations for those that are serious about getting their health back and that are going to be coachable and that are super resourceful to do what it takes because they don't want to be caught with a house that doesn't have a good foundation and is going to be blown over in the wind. What I'll do, but you got to be serious. That's the thing. I don't want people that are kind of tire kickers, like, hey, will you review my Dutch test? Or, hey, like, what do you think about this or that? I'm not here to tell you about this or that. I'm here to figure out, okay, well, where are you now? What's not working with your health? What have you been trying? How long has it been there? What's worked? What's not worked? Where is it that you want to be? Why are you not getting there? And then if I feel like I can bridge that gap and tell you what you need to do and do it quick and timely and in an efficient manner so that you come out of this thriving, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do. Make sure you put your questions, because I can't see any of your questions. We're doing this through another software, so I can't see the live questions. But make sure you put your questions in the chat box, and I will be sure to answer them. And then I'll also put that link in there. But you have to be super coachable, super resourceful, super decisive. Like, hey, I can't live like this anymore. I need to get my health back. So once again, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I am the Adrenal Fatigue Recovery Ninja, and I look forward to helping you thrive in these stressful times. Have an awesome day.